Okay, so what we would be doing today is we would be creating our first Node.js project, right? And we would be doing very simple things in it, right? No rocket science, right? Just to get the know-how of the syntax. That is what we are trying to achieve today, right? To do that, right? Go to any folder in your command prompt, right? Ensure that that folder is something which is easily accessible, right? Avoid if you are on Windows, avoid creating that folder in your C drive. Instead, create it in some D or E drive, whichever drive you have, right? You can create some folder called as S2P, and inside that you can create a folder called as node projects, and inside those node projects, right, create another folder. You can call that as first project, right? So what I am going to do is I will start by creating a folder, right? So how do you create your folder in your command prompt? You say mkdir uh, first project. Right, so what it has done is it has created a folder called as first project. Now I am going inside that first project, so I'll say cd first project. Right, if I do ls, if you are on Windows, ls probably might not work. So you can use dir instead of ls. You can use this dir command. Right, that would list down its content. Right, now to uh, now, to create your project, right, what we would do is we would run this command. We would say npm init, right, press enter, right. It will ask you for something, some package name and sort of things. As of now, just keep on pressing enter, right. You can also type in some values, but that is not required as of now. What this thing does is it creates a file called as package.json. The next what you need to do is you need to open your VS Code, which is Visual Studio Code, and in your VS Code what you can do is you can navigate to your folder, means you can click on file, then you can say open folder. Since it is not there, we can open it from here as well, right? So click on open folder and navigate to the folder, right? So I am navigating to first project, right, and I am clicking open. What is going to happen is, right, it will open that entire project in this left pane. That's what it is going to do. Right, now inside this, what you need to do is create a file with an extension js.js. So I'll click on this icon, it creates a new file, and I'll give the file name. So I am giving it a name index.js. Right, now inside index.js, what is there is a blank file here, right? Nothing is there. So in this file, what I am going to do is, right, I'll be printing hello world on the console. Right, it is similar to your cout statement in C++ or system.out.println in your Java. Right, so here what I would do is I would say console.log, right, and in inverted commas I would say hello world. Right, that is the very standard thing to do, right, and I saved that file. Right, once I have done that, what I'll do is I'll go back to my terminal, or if you are on Windows, then we'll go back to our command prompt. Right, if we do an ls here, what we see is our index.js file. Right, now what we are going to do is we are going to run this file. Right, now how will we run? I would simply say node index.js, right, and I'll press enter. What you see is the hello world which is printed. Very simple thing, right? No rocket science in this. What I have done is I've created a node project, right? Inside that node project, I created a file called as index.js. Inside index.js, I have written only one statement, which is console.log, and inside that console.log, in brackets, in parentheses, I have given inside inverted commas, I said hello world. Right? That is a very simple thing to do. Once this is done, next what I would do is I would try to declare an integer variable. I would say let a equals to 10. Right, now no need to give any data type here. Right, you can simply say let a equals to 10. Right, JavaScript internally would uh, say decide the data type of that variable. Right, now if I have to print this a, how will I do that? I'll simply say console.log and in brackets I would get a. Right, I'll save it and I'll run it. Right, how will I run? Again I would say node index.js. Now you will be able to see that in new line, right, 10 is getting printed. As simple as that, right? No rocket science again. Next, what I am going to do is, right, I am printing this value of 10 with some, say, in a human readable format. So I am saying console.log or with some message. What I mean to say is with some message. So I am saying value of a equals to, right, and I am using a plus sign there and I am adding a, right. So what this plus does is it appends these two things, right. So at the end what will be printed or what should be printed? It should print value of a equals to 10, right. So if you take a look at this, I am running this again, say I saved that file and I am running, right. So it simply prints value of a equals to 10. Again, no rocket science. Next, what I am going to do is, right, I'll declare another variable b, right. I would say b equals to 20. Right, now I am printing the value of a and b together. So I am saying console.log a comma b, right, and I am running this. So what you can see is the value of a is printed, then a space is printed, and the value of b is printed. Again, simple thing, no rocket science. Next, what I am going to do is I am going to declare another variable. I would say c, right. Then I would say c equals to a plus b, and I would say console.log, and I would say addition of, I would say plus a plus and plus b equals plus c. Let's see what happens in this case. Right, so what I am getting is addition of 10 and 20 equals 30. Now these are very simple things to do, but these are important at least syntactically for us to understand. So what is plus doing? Plus is simply appending. Right, what is comma inside console.log doing? Comma inside console.log is just printing whatever we are giving inside it with a space as a separator in between, right. And console.log, it prints with a new line, right. So it is as simple as that. Another important thing what we saw is if we simply do a c equals to a plus b, it does the addition, right. We have not done any kind of we have not specified any data type, nothing, right. Now let us declare a string, right. How can we do that? I would say let str is equal to, I can say my name is Gandhar, right. And we can also say let str1 equals to, I am giving a space and I am typing my surname Patvardhan here. Instead of str I should give str1 because str already exists, and I would say console.log str plus str1. Again, a simple thing to do, but what it should print? It should print my name is Gandhar Patvardhan. Let's see. Right, so it printed my name is Gandhar Patvardhan, if you are able to see this. Okay. Next, what I am going to do is, right, I am going to create a function in JavaScript. Right, now this function or everything, what you can bluntly say is that everything in JavaScript is a variable, right. So even the name of a function, we would take it as a variable, right. Let's try doing that. I would say let fun equals to, then I am using a keyword function here. Right, now this is a function which does not have any parameter in it. If you can see, this is the place where we can specify the parameters, but as of now it is not having any parameters, and inside this I am saying console.log, and I can simply say inside fun. Right, now let me try and run this and see if it prints inside fun. Right, so it printed my name is Gandhar Patwardhan, but it did not print inside fun. Why did it not print? Because this function is only defined, but we have not called that function. Right, now how will we call that function? Using this variable. Right, so you can simply call the function like this. Right, now if we run it, it should print inside fun. Right, now this is a very simple function without any parameters or with zero parameters, and it is simply printing inside fun. Right, but it will print it only when it is called. Right, otherwise it won't. Right, so there is no specific syntax as to function should be in separate block or nothing doing. Right, this is not a block structured language. It is a simple script, like interpreter specific language. Right, so next thing what we would do is we would create a function, right, which takes a parameter. So let's see how a function takes a parameter. I'll declare another function. So I would say let fun1 equals to function, right, I'll pass some parameter, let's say a, right, and I would say console.log a. Right, now as you can see, what this function is doing is it is accepting one single parameter. Right, this parameter does not have any data type as of now, and this function it's simply printing the value of whatever parameter is passed to it. Right, now let us call this function. How will I call? I would say fun1 and I would pass some value, let's say 10. Right, and let's see what it prints. So it printed 10 if you are able to see this. Next is I'll call the same function with some variable. So I would say fun1 and I'll pass the value of c. C is a variable which we have declared here. Right, and its value is 30. 10 plus 20, which is 30. So let's see if it prints 30. Yes, it prints 30. So you can pass a variable in your function call as well. Right, next is I'll call this function, right, with a string value. I am simply printing hello s2p. Right, and I am running this. So it printed hello s2p. What it means is this particular function, specifically this particular function, right, it is independent of the data type. So you can pass integer, right, you can pass a variable which is of the type integer because numbers are assigned to it, and you can also pass a string. Right, because this function is simply printing the value of the variable, right, you are able to pass whatever value you wish to. Right, if we pass fun1 and if I say 10.2, right, let's see what this would do. It printed 10.2. So even if you are passing float values or decimal values, it printed those decimal values. Right, if I pass fun1, right, 5 plus 7, let's see what it will do. It printed me 12. Right, if I pass fun1 2 plus 3.5, let's see what this would do. It printed you 5.5. Right, so that is a very simple way of declaring a function, right, or writing a function, right, and assigning it to a variable and passing parameters to it. Right, so these are different ways in which we are able to call that function. Right, now this is one way of writing a function in JavaScript. Right, there is another way of writing a function in JavaScript. Let us learn that way as well. right? Let's say I have another function, say let fun2 equals to, right? And I'm not using the function keyword now. I'm not using the function keyword now. Instead, I'm using an arrow operator. Arrow is nothing but equals to and greater than. Right? If you can see this, it is arrow operator is nothing but a combination of equals to and greater than with no space in between. Right? And inside this, I'm simply saying console.log in fun2. Right? And I'll call this function. Right? Let's see what it prints. So it printed in fun2. Right? So these are generally called as arrow functions in JavaScript. So they are nothing but another way of writing functions. There are some differences, but we would learn those differences later on. Right? But as of now, it is very important for you guys to understand different ways of writing the functions in JavaScript. Right? Now let me write another function that adds two integers which are passed to it, and it returns their value. Right? So I am simply saying let fun3, or I'll give it name add2 equals to, right? I am using the parenthesis and I am passing two variables a comma b as parameters. Right? So this is a function which has two parameters a and b. Right? And what this function would simply do is it would simply return you a plus b. Right? Now I would say let d equals to add2, and I will pass say 50 comma 60, and I say console.log d. It should print me 110. So it printed 110. So this is another way of using that function, right? So what add2 is a function with two parameters a and b, and what this function is doing is it is simply returning the addition of the two parameters. That is what it is doing, right? Just to tweak it a little, right? Let's see what add2 does if we pass two strings to it, right? So if I say hi, and second parameter if I say hello, not like this, right? I am just calling this function add2. Now let's see what happens. Right? So it added those two strings, right? And it returned the value, right? And that returned value we directly printed it using the console.log, right? So that is also another way of calling that function. Why I am using console.log is because this function is directly returning, so I can call this function inside or as a parameter to this function, log function, console.log function.